So you want to buy an early style S197 GT500. And this buyer's guide will focus mainly on the 2007 to 2009 Shelby GT500s, and then we'll scratch the surface on the 2010 model since it's a bit of an oddball out, just like its GT counterpart. And we'll touch base with the 2011 to 2012 cars as well. The good news is, these cars are relatively issue-free, with only the worst of their issues being easily fixed compared to other performance cars of the era. We'll go ahead and dissect the minor differences of the 2007 GT500 versus the following years, so we can focus on all the quirks of the cars as a whole. The 2007 model year had a very heavy harmonic balancer that created unnecessary stress on the crank snouts, and in extreme cases would cause the crankshaft snout to break. This issue isn't that big of a deal with a bone stock car, but with any type of engine modification it is highly recommended that the balancer is replaced with an aftermarket unit, or a cheaper alternative is to swap it out with a stock 2008 and up OEM replacement for peace of mind. With that one specific quirk with the 2007 knocked out of the way, the following quirks relate with all of the following years. The factory ceramic clutches are noisy and had reports of very vague take-up. Also, they are pretty much already at their limits of the car's stock power level. They are known to go out quickly with any increase in power, so if you're looking to purchase a stock car to modify, go ahead and make sure the clutch is a priority of replacement. The factory motorcraft alternators are also very problematic and prone to failure. There's really not much concrete evidence on the topic of why they fail, but there are many talked about fixes, like replacing the stock alternator pulley with a larger one to keep the alternator from overspinning, to much more expensive options such as replacing the alternator with an upgraded unit such as the J2 or PA brands. With the 2007 harmonic balancer being the most major issue to look out for when buying these cars, you'll notice a pattern with my next suggestions with upgrades. These cars are just good enough when left alone in their fully stock form, but I'm assuming that's not why you're here watching this video. When you start making upgrades to your car, these are the next components you need to upgrade, or at least watch out for when purchasing a modified Shelby. When increasing power in these cars, the factory heat exchanger and intercooler pump leave a lot to be desired. The factory heat exchanger is a tiny single pass unit paired with an intercooler pump capable of only moving 4 gallons per minute. Heat soak is a major issue when bumping up the power in these cars, so I would highly recommend upgrading those before pulling down. This is assuming you've already addressed upgrading the clutch as mentioned earlier. Along with a subpar heat exchanger and intercooler pump, the factory intercooler coolant reservoir is low capacity and needs to be upgraded as well. A great cheap replacement for all of the mentioned issues would be replacing the components with factory 2013 to 2014 GT500 parts. From this point forward, I'm going to refer to the 2013-2014 GT500s as the Trinity. The factory 5.8 Trinity clutch is a great and relatively inexpensive swap to the earlier 5.4 Shelbys, and they can handle a lot more power. The Trinity's heat exchanger is also much larger, and the intercooler pump has double the coolant flow versus the 5.4 Shelbys. You'll notice that a lot of the factory Trinity parts are easily swapped upgrades over to the 5.4 cars. On the topic of easy upgrades, the 2007 to 2009 GT500s had extremely restrictive airbox style intakes. These cars were rated at a very conservative 500 crank horsepower. These cars are easily capable of making 550 to the wheels with just an upgraded cold air intake setup, upper pulley swap, and a proper tune. The 2010 and following years actually featured a much better open air filter intake setup from the factory, which is why these cars featured a higher factory horsepower rating versus prior years. When shooting for big power, the next weak links of these cars need to be addressed. The factory suspension is almost comical. The stance on a stock 2007 to 2009 car is on par with a Monster Jam truck. Wheel hop is a serious issue that needs to be addressed for putting down newly upgraded power safely. I highly suggest a lowering spring setup for starters. This also requires installation of an adjustable panhard bar so that the rear end can be properly re-centered. Aftermarket lower control arms and an adjustable upper control arm will also help to eliminate any further wheel hop. Suspension alone is its own rabbit hole, so we'll just focus on those only in this video for time management's sake. Now that the clutch, cooling system, and suspension have been upgraded, we can talk about much more aggressive power modifications. As mentioned earlier, the 5.8 Trinity has a lot of easily swappable upgraded parts that can be bolted right up to the 5.4. That also includes its larger 2.3 TVS supercharger. It is arguably the best budget setup you can do to your 5.4 GT500. But before we get too in-depth with blower upgrades, we need to go ahead and talk about the reliability of the GT500's engine. In this video, we are solely going to talk about the 5.4 only. It is named the Condor engine. These engines are factory forged and are extremely robust and reliable. They have been known to support upwards of 750 wheel horsepower with good tuning on stock internals. The weakest link being the powder forged rods. Once those are addressed, the block itself is easily capable of 1,000 wheel horsepower. Next up is the transmission. Every S197 GT500 is equipped with the Tremec TR6060 6-speed manual transmission. This is also a very robust transmission. My only qualm with this transmission is Ford and Tremec's recommendation to use automatic transmission fluid. Every TR6060 filled with ATF that I have ever driven has had a very harsh first to second shift that can also result in a grind. My suggestion when changing the fluid in these transmissions for the absolute best shifting experience is to add only 1 quart of ATF to the transmission and then continue to finish filling up the transmission with Pennzoil Synchro Mesh. It has fixed every second gear grind issue I've ever had in the TR6060. And I've always noticed that transmissions filled with complete ATF shift the worst. Throw in an MGW shifter to completely spoil your driving experience with a TR6060. The 2010 GT500 was the last year that featured an iron block 5.4. It received some very quirky knock sensors that were specific to that year only. The later 11 to 12 GT500s received the aluminum block 5.4s, and their factory M122 superchargers were painted silver, versus the earlier year black paint jobs with the iron block cars. Ease of maintenance is also something that I love about the 5.4, as basic maintenance items are easily accessible and replaceable. When it comes to tuning, the 2007 to 2010 GT500s lack a factory wideband sensor. When upgrading your GT500, your tuner will require logging of your AFRs. The 2011 and up GT500s actually have their own onboard widebands, so this is a non-issue with tuning. So with the earlier GT500s, you will need to install an aftermarket wideband sensor and AFR gauge to be able to monitor your vehicle's air-fuel ratio. Once that has been addressed, tuning comes down strictly to preference. I can only personally recommend 2 tuners that I've had great first-hand experience with, including VMP Performance and BJ McCarty with Venomous Tuning. They are both very familiar with the platform, and they both provide great customer service. So in a nutshell, mechanically these cars are pretty solid. To wrap up the video, we'll talk about some cosmetic and interior issues to look out for. The interiors in the 2007 to 2012 cars have leather door inserts that have been notorious for peeling and sagging. The dash gauge needles are controlled by stepper motors, which have also been known to fail as well. The blend door actuators will gradually fail over time and make clicking sounds. Luckily, they are very easy to replace on Mustangs. Vehicles that have sat for long periods of time seem to suffer from these issues the most. Cosmetically, just watch out for clear coat failure. Ford's paint left a lot to be desired. In fact, the 2010 up Shelbys seem to have worse paint issues versus the earlier 07 to 09 cars, especially with trunk deck lids and roof clear coat failures. As you can see, none of these issues are major deal breakers. The GT500 overall is a very solid and reliable platform with plenty of room to grow. As always, thanks for watching and subscribe to see more buyer's guides in the future.